Right. Yesterday we are discussing about the final variables, right? So we have got to know. Now we have understood why we have to go for the final variable, because to represent any constants in Java, okay, you use final keyword along with the variable, so that the value cannot be changed and modifications are not allowed. And again, we have seen a few examples. We have done some case studies, and the final variable is categorized into static final variable and the non-static or the instance final variable, right? And we have discussed about the blank final variable, and in which areas we can use this blank final variables. That understanding has been given in the exercise class, right? So today the follow-up topic is the enums in Java. So to understand this enums, we must have the good knowledge on the final variable. So I will tell you what is an enum. So before proceeding with the enum, so let us say that I have a requirement. Okay, I have requirement to develop a chatting application. Okay, in my chatting application, I need to update the user status every time. Okay, I'm taking the name of the class as user status. Right? Very simple, isn't it? And there is a main method. And I want to take three constants. Okay, the first constant is I want to take a variable like available. Okay, when I just call this variable, it should display something like user is available. First one. Okay, first thing. Okay, since it is what okay, since it is going to be a constant, how I can represent a constant in Java by using public static final followed by the variable name followed by the actual value, right? So this is one of the constants. Like this, I am taking three constants. Okay, public static final. The next name of the constant variable is, I want to take something like busy. The next name of the constant is, I want to take something like away. Okay, so here I would be saying user is busy, and here I would be saying user is away, right? So whenever, okay, based upon the status, I need to update this information in the real time, so that I have a kind of logic somewhere in the program. Okay, for now I'm using the main method to call this respective variable, so that the user status can be displayed in the console. Let me say that if I just access the println, if I want to say user is available, what I'm supposed to do, I need to use the class name followed by what? Followed by the variable name. Okay, so when I just save this code, let me save this file, save as user underscore status dot java. Okay, let me compile this. Java C space user underscore status dot java. So this is the different file naming convention I'm taking. So what it says. Okay. I'm sorry. I missed this variable data type string. Okay. Everything is a string data type. String data type and string data type. Okay. So here we go with the compilation. So this is the compilation, and let me do the execution as well. Java space user status. Okay. So you get user is available, right? So this is how you are going to deal with what you are going to deal with the final variables. But I want to help you with some rules and the guidelines, right? So when I say Java, so I want to introduce Java enums. So before even introducing Java enums, I want to introduce something. What is that? According to the Java naming convention. What? According to the Java naming conventions, right? We follow some naming conventions, right? As a guideline or as a rule, we follow some naming conventions. How you define a name, what kind of cases you follow, whether it's a camel case or a lower case or upper case, or combination of lower and upper cases. So this talks about what? Naming conventions. These are just the guidelines so that there will be good readability. Okay, what Java naming convention says, according to Java naming conventions, if you are declaring any final variable, or else I can say that if you have any constant variable, okay, it must be declared with the uppercase letter. First one must be declared with the uppercase letters. Okay, now let us do the same thing. I have a constant variable available. This available needs to be changed like available. Okay, busy has to be changed to busy. Okay, I have away, and away is supposed to be changed to away. Okay, so these are the naming conventions that we have to follow. Let me copy this and paste it here. Okay, I am introducing the concept of enum. This is not related to final keywords, so please pay some attention. Okay, these changes are made. Now there is another issue with these variables. I have taken 3 variables. There is one issue that is hiding behind the scenes. What is that issue? Okay, before understanding the issue, and also second thing is, all the constants should be declared with public static final keywords. Second point I can write is, okay, this is the first point. Second point, all the constants must be declared with public static final keyword. Right? Public static final. A variable has to follow what? Variable has to be represented along with the public static final keyword, so that by looking at it you can say that it is going to be a constant. The second most important thing. Right? So this is also achieved. Let me place this under these 2 points so that it is applicable for both the points. Okay. The third point says, so now you see guys, so there is a problem here. That's not a problem. Okay, there is a kind of what? There is a kind of for example, let me say that you have 100 constants. You have 100 constants. Like, so for now in this program I have taken only 3 constants. So suppose let's assume that you have 100 constants, and also each and every constant is what is having a different set of data types. So in this case I have taken string data type for all my constants, but let us say that for each and every constant I am taking a data types like integer. I'm taking a data type for one constant, I'm taking it integer. For another one I can take in float. For another one I'm taking it like boolean. Let us do the same changes. Okay, so I have a variable name available, which is a constant. This is a value. So this is of which data type? String data type. Let us say that for the busy, okay, I want to use a numerical value to say that the user is busy, so that I want to use 0. 0 means, okay, 0 represents that user is busy. So this is a value which is of what? Which is of integer data type. And again, okay, let us say that I have something like user is away. Instead of saying user is away, I can say if the user is away, I want to denote that the user is away in the form of boolean value like true. Since the value is true, I need to change this to boolean. Likewise, for all the 100 constant, don't you think that there will be a lot of typedness issues? Like you take a different value, this value is supposed to be matching with the same data type. You have a integer, it has to be supposed to be the same data type, right? So for different values you have different data types, but I would like to store all my constants with the same common data type. One thing. And also there is a lot of repetition here. So when I talk about repetition, for all my 100 constants, this public static final has to get repeated for 100 times. Don't you think so? It has to get repeated for how many times? It has to get repeated for, ideally it has to get repeated for 100 times. If I have 1000 constant, This all these values has to get repeated for how many times? For thousands times. Public static final, everything. So what I can say is, since Java is a strictly typed programming language, right? This example, okay, let me say this. Take this. Okay, please be informed that the Java is a strictly typed. Strictly typed means nothing but, okay, if you have a value 0, that has to get assigned to the same data type. I mean, the integer data type. If you have value sequence of characters, that needs to get assigned to the string data type. If you have a value like true or false, that needs to get assigned to the Boolean data type. This is called as what? This is called as the strictly typed programming language. For the Python, it is not like that. For the Python, you can specify a value, so dynamically it is going to consider the data type. But for Java, it's the developer duties to define the data type along with the value. Okay, Java is a strictly typed programming language. Okay, the below example is going to reduce the typedness as it is representing the different data types, different set of data types, right? So one is representing string, another one is representing integer, another one is representing boolean. Even though every data is a constant, every data has to be a constant, but they are representing different data types. But if you have 100 constant, those 100 constants, you cannot guarantee that which one is representing which data type. So you need to you have to ensure that right values are getting assigned to the data type. For example, in the runtime, there are high chances that instead of user is available, see guys, it's not like a word user is available. I will be depending upon calling another method. For example, let me say that I will be calling a method like uh, something like a dot status. Okay. If I call, okay, this is the method call which is going to return me the value. Assume like that. I'm saying a dots or obj dot status. I'm saying. Okay. So this status method is going to return me the status of the user. Sometimes there are high chances that for the available, okay, due to some errors or due to some mistakes, it may return a value like, instead of user is available, it may return a value like user is not available. There are high chances that this kind of mistakes would happen. Since we are humans, right? You cannot depend upon a method call to return the status of a user. It may return return an invalid information. There are high chances. Right? Instead of user, or else it may return as some kind of garbage value. Okay, welcome. Value that you're not expecting, value that is not even expected. What I'm trying to say is this is a constant, okay? Constant means it is a fixed, right? You should find a way to, right? You should not be depending, this variable should not be depending upon a value, right? If it is depending upon a value, there are high chances that this value itself could be an incorrect value, or the value itself could be an the error value. Available means the method should be like user is available, right? But there are high chances that this could be misrepresented, or this could be rewritten to a different value, or this could be changed, so that the actual meaning of the available status is going to get violated. These things could happen. You have a constant, make sure that this value, okay, this value cannot be changed. I'm not saying this can be changed, cannot be changed. This value cannot be changed. But there are high chances that you make a mistakes while declaring the constants. Okay, that is one of the disadvantages that you have with the final keyword. It won't happen, but there are high chances it could happen. And also, I'm talking about the typedness. See, for each and every value, you want to depend upon the equivalent data type. 0 means you cannot take the string here, right? And if you ever have to return 0, okay, sometimes there are high chances that you may be returning a kind of garbage value like 10101, okay, which is the representation. Okay, constant should be a constant, but there are high chances that the actual the actual value will be violated. The actual value will be changed. The actual meaning will be changed. Away means true, right? Instead of returning true, if you if you keep false by mistake, it's going to be trouble. So to overcome all these issues, okay, so see, you don't see anything, guys. You don't see anything with these three constants, with these three variables. If you're dealing with 100 constants, if you're dealing with more than 100 constants, then the actual advantage, the actual disadvantage of this final keyword could be witnessed. Right? To overcome only these disadvantages, okay, they have introduced a concept called what? They have introduced a concept called enums. Right? To overcome these disadvantages, they introduce a concept called as what? Enums has been introduced. Okay. If you ask me, is the what difference between what is the difference between enums and the final keyword? One common thing is both are going to represent the constant. The one common thing is both are going to represent the constant, but enum is little bit a kind of what? Little bit advanced, I can say. Okay, what is the disadvantage that you have? See, let me put that in words. Okay, fourth one. I can say that in the above example, if we access the constant variables, then the values of the constant variables would be displayed. However, the values may or may not have the meaningful information. Meaningful information may or may not have the meaningful information or message. With respect to the constant variables. And also there is one more problem that you are going to face very often. What is that problem? Okay, while accessing this, you have to ensure that you are using the right data type to store this. For example, available, you call this available with the help of the class name. Okay, when I say, okay, what is the class name? User status is the class name. Okay, since it is static final keyword, right? So user status dot available. When you say user status dot available, always you have to ensure that always you have to ensure that what this is returning string type, right? You are going to use another string variable, okay, another string data type of variable, user defined variable, to store the return, to capture the returned value. Same thing for busy means, right? So you take a new variable name, so user status dot busy, which is returning what? Which is returning the integer value. And you take away, what is away? User status dot status dot away, right? And which is going to return a boolean value. Yeah. Okay, for 3 variables you don't find any issues, but for 100 variables or 150 variables, you have to ensure that the right data type is used to capture the data, right? But I'm looking for a common data. I'm looking for a common data type, so that this common data type could be used for any kind of data, right? So for that, we will be going for what? We will be going for this enums, right? So what is an enum? Question is, what is an enum? An enum is a special type of class. Enum is a special class that represents what? That represent a group of constants. Or else I can say that unchangeable variables. Unchangeable variables, right? Just like final variables. The first one. Okay. To create a constant, we can also use the enum keyword. We can use the enum keyword. Okay, enum should be in the lower case. Enum keyword. And separate the constants with the commas. You just separate the constant with the commas. They should be represented in the uppercase letter. Should be represented in the uppercase. Okay, example. Okay, if I want to convert the same thing to the enum, okay, see now look at the. Now just try to see how this program is getting reduced to enum. If I am using enum to store all my constants, I can do a small change here. What is a small change? Simply, I'm taking the actual class. This is the actual class. Okay, this is the actual class. Okay, this is the actual class. Okay, I'm converting this to the enum. Okay, what I can simply do, change the class. Okay, remove the class name, remove the identifier class to enum. First thing. Okay. Second thing is, you do not have to keep public static final string. Remove this. Remove public static final integer. Remove this. Remove public static final boolean. Remove this. Right? Always, okay. You do not have to assign the values. Not have to assign the values. You do not have to assign the values. Right? If you have a constant, directly use the variable names in the uppercase letter. If you have many constants, separate those constants with the comma, and at the end you will be using a semicolon. At the end you will be using what? You will be using a semicolon. Just imagine that we do not have a main method, right? I just blindly want to convert my class to the enum class. Let me remove this as well. I just want to convert my class to enum. I just use the enum keyword and directly use the variable names. So these variable names don't have any values. So this is the actual value itself. This is acting as a variable name as well as the value also. Right? So what is that? We are eliminating public static final data type. I mean, these three keywords are eliminated. Data type is also eliminated. Only the variable name is used for to represent what? To represent an enum. These are the collection of constants inside the enum class. Right? Now see how I can call this. Okay, go to the program, convert this to enum. Okay, just convert this to enum user status. Okay, let me remove all these things. Okay, let me remove all these things. I have available separated by comma, and I have what? I have the busy separated by comma, and I have what? I have the away, which is separated by the semicolon. Three constants I want to represent. How easy it is? You want to represent 100 constants, only the actual variable you can use. How to call this variable? System.out. println, right? Use the enum name. Now the enum name is user status. User status dot use the variable name or the constant which is going to return the constant itself. Let me run this code. Okay. There is something. Okay, this one is away now. Okay. Semicolon. Compilation is successful and the output is going to be available, right? So I am not using any data type like the data type which I have used before. I'm not using any data type for BC. I'm not using any data type for BC. So this variable is going to access. Okay, we have what? We have, can say that we don't have public static final one thing. We do not have data types, right? And we do not have values assigned to the, we do not have the direct variables, and we don't have the values assigned to the variable. We are eliminating all these three things. Only we have what? We have a constant. It is called as what? It is called as an enum constants. Direct constant. Okay. How you can effectively, you see, in a week you have what? You have something like Monday. It cannot be changed, isn't it? Why you want to use a variable name to store the value Monday? Directly I can use Monday, right? Like Tuesday you have. Okay? Like Wednesday you have. Okay, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I have taken the constants, the actual meaningful constants this time. Okay? This is a meaningful constant, right? This cannot be changed forever, right? And why you are supposed to use a final variable to store these constants with their new variable name, and the value is going to be the same itself. Okay, this could be very much meaningful, isn't it? So in which places I can use these constants? In which places I can use this constant? How I can invoke this constant? Right, I can say that something like I can implement a logic like Monday. If I want to use Monday, right? If user dot status dot Monday equal to also I can say that, I can say something like if well, simply I can call for the time being, because we want to introduce the complex logic. I need to help you to understand. No, object creation is not possible for the enums. Okay, we will complete that part and we will better understand what I'm trying to implement now. Okay, for now, these are the constants that that you can store. Not only this, you have something like the planet's name. You have like Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, which cannot be changed. Like the country names you have, months you have January, February, March, April, which cannot be changed. Will remain forever. To represent those, you place those values directly, and if you want to access that, you can ask. For the time being, just try to understand. See, so it could be accessed. System.out.println. Okay, user status dot Monday. Status dot Monday. It's going to give the value what the Monday itself. Okay. For now this understanding is fine, and we have to discuss a lot. You will get the complete picture. Okay, for now just try to understand how we are accessing this enum constants. right? The second example, let us talk about the syntax. So when I say syntax is very simple, isn't it? Syntax. Syntax says you have an access modifier followed by enum followed by name. Okay, enum followed by what? Any meaningful name, any user defined enum name. Okay, and you will be placing constants. Okay, this is a syntax. Set of constants. I can say that you can use set of constants. Okay, the next thing is so you need to remember a few more points. Points to remember. Okay, so all the constants or all the variables inside the enum type are constant variables first of all, and they are public static final by default. If you're giving it or if you're not giving it, they will be treated as public static final by default. I will show you the proof. What I'm saying is all the variables inside the enum type are constants or constant variables, and they are public static final by default. Suppose this. Okay, second one is all the constants variables are default of the same enum type, so you are not required to provide any data type explicitly. I can say that all the variables are by default of the same enum type, and you are not required to provide any data type explicitly. I will give you the justification for these 2 points. Okay, and there is one more point. It says all constant variables named, all constant variables are named constant by default. If you access constants variables, the name of the constant itself will be displayed, not the value. The access the name itself will be displayed, because the value and the name are represented. The value is same like the name. It's just like you are placing the value directly. Okay, so what is ideal proof for this? Let me show this for you. There is a command in Java like focus here. Okay, there is a command in Java like Java p user status. I'm using the enum user status. Okay, the moment I do this, okay, you get the compiler modifications. Okay, you get what kind of modifications is being done by the compiler. Let me copy this code. Let me put it here. This is going to give the justification all the points which I have just mentioned. Okay, what is the first point that I have taken? What is the first point that I have considered? The first point is very simple. All the variables inside enum type are constant variables, and they are public static final by default. Okay, so this is our code, right? Previously this was our code available. Not this one. Okay, on. This is the code. Let me copy this. This is the code, and this is the compilers act or compilers modification. Okay. Now focus on each and every part. Okay, you have defined a constant Monday. Okay, before that, enum type, right? This is enum type. Internally, you are using enum, but the compiler will change this to class. Compiler will change this enum type to the class type, first modification, okay, and ensure that the class itself is the final class. Okay. So these are the things that is being added by the compiler. Okay, and the name of the enum is going to be same, and this is extending to the internally there is the class called enum class. Internally it is extending to the enum class. First modification. So this is simple code given by the developer. These are the modifications that is being done by the compiler. Second one is you are just placing Monday, right? What is the point that I have given here? First points to be remembered. All the variables inside the enum type are constant variables, and they are public static final by default. When I say by default, that is how it is treated by the compiler, right? So compiler is adding these things, public static final, right, along with what? Along with the type name, which is what? User status. If you see the type is common for all the constants. User status, user status, user status, all the constants. Using something like any extra data type like string, you see such things. You don't see, you don't see what? You don't see a string, you don't see you don't see integer, you don't see float, you don't see these things. Everything is treated as a user status itself. Okay, and at last you see the variable name. The constant that we are declaring here, it is being treated as a variable internally. Okay, this variable will be what? Will be acting like a value when you access it, because it is a constant. Why you need to keep a value and a separate variable for that? Memory wastage, right? Directly you can access this variable, which is going to be acting like a value also. Right, first point justification, right? All the variables are by default the same type, enum type, and you're not required to provide any data type explicitly. So this is justification. All the data types are what? Enum type, which is what? User status type. Is what? The type is what? The user status type. This case, user status type. Good, no? Right, second point justification. What is the third point? If you access the enum type, the name itself will be displayed. See, if you're accessing Monday, or if you're accessing Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever it is, okay, so the same name that you're accessing, that is acting as a value also. There is no need to specify the value separately. You access Monday by with the help of the what we call it as, with the help of the type, right? With the help of the type, user status underscore status dot Monday. The answer is going to be Monday only, because that is the actual constant. These are the justifications that is seen upon what? There are the points to remember. Okay, when someone is asking you what what are the constants value, by default, what are they? They are public static final by default. How we can get this? Just by using this word Java P followed by the enum name. Okay, now one more thing is, see, this enum can be defined outside the class or inside the class, no issues. What I mean to say is, yeah, this fourth point. Please be informed that you can define the enum outside the class or inside the class, but not inside the method. But not inside the So what do I really mean? We have an enum A. Okay, let me take a class B here. Okay, inside this, let me take a public static void method. Okay, let me remove this. Okay, this is enum A. I can take a constant like available. Okay, this can be placed outside the class. If I want, I can place it inside the class also. Both are valid, but not inside the method. It can be part of a class. It cannot be a part of a class. Both are fine, but no, it cannot be part of a method. So that is what it says. You will understand these examples. Okay, there are examples that we have to discuss. You will understand each and every case in the example, so that you will get much comfortable about what enums. If you ask me, is there anywhere that you are going to use this in project? There are many places where you will be using, where you will be finding these enums in a Java project, right? There are many places, there are many areas, right? The constants are often represented by using the enums because of what? Because of the typedness, because of flexibility, I can say. Okay. Learning it is going to be a little bit while learning it, you will feel it like it is not necessary to learn because you are comfortable with public static final. But as soon as you start understanding the difference between two in the project areas, okay, especially in the project scope, you will find it what you will find it. You will find the enums are very much comfortable. Okay. You cannot, second point, look at this. You cannot create an object for enum. It means you cannot instantiate by using the new keyword. What does it really mean? Let's say if I have an enum, okay, I cannot create an object for enum. This is completely what? Invalid. Okay. Unlike class, okay, you are allowed to create an object for the class. The same thing is not possible for the enum. That's what I'm trying to say. This is valid. Right? For enums, objects cannot be created. Right? You get what? You get the compile time errors. But apart from this, but you can place a constructor, methods, and variables inside the enum. What does this point say is when you have an enum of A type, you can have a constructor inside the enum. You can have a method like void method one, and you can also have the variables. Something like this, right? So these things is not a straightforward things. For today, I want you to understand the how the enum is declared, and I want to understand why the enums are used to represent the constant. This knowledge would be sufficient for the today's class. But from tomorrow, okay, this enum will take one more class. Over there, I will help you to understand, how this is going to be different from the classes, right? How when you declare a method inside an enum, how it can be called, because you're not supposed to create an object, isn't it? Right? How the constructor can be placed inside this, right? And we will at last we'll do the actual comparison between classes versus enums, so that the complete understanding will be there for the enums, right? And also the dot class files will be generated for the enums also. Dot class files will be generated for the enums, so that also you will understand. For now, today focus on only these things, these points. Okay, let me just okay, this one. I want you to take running notes because just go through this for 10 seconds. Just read this, you will get this. Every day, if you spend 10 minutes or 20 minutes, this will be captured.